There has been one question that I could never stop thinking about every time I saw someone argue over it. What is a Vtuber? By definition, a virtual YouTuber, known as a Vtuber, is an online entertainer who uses an avatar generated with computer graphics. Real-time motion capture software or technology are often, but not always, used to capture movement. While the term may mention YouTube as the platform, its use has transcended its original coined meaning, like rewind, rolling a window down, and dialing a number. Even the term YouTube has transcended its original meaning. Rarely do people continue to use a CRT or cathode ray tube to watch things on TV or PC. It only took 2 years for LCD screens to take over the market after YouTube started. When you hear the word Vtuber, you understand that they are a YouTuber with a digital presence representing them. They can be Minecraft creators, artists, and actors like the rest, but that single word, Vtuber, instantly separates them from regular YouTubers. They can say they're a virtual YouTuber who makes Minecraft content, or shorten it to a Minecraft Vtuber. This is a 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 Vtuber model. This, I would say, is not a Vtuber. This isn't supposed to be seen as the definition or standard for what a Vtuber is. This video is to explore that idea and what it would be. This isn't to gatekeep, only to ask questions and try to find the answers to them. I cannot dictate what a Vtuber is, and by the end of this, I hope there's enough people and analysis videos who can break it down and provide insight to one day answer these questions, since I believe that the community is the one who gets to make the decision. These are what I currently think what one could be counted as and can change over time. I would like to keep 4 things in mind going forward about the different types of content we're going to discuss. Digital content. Content involving animatics, storytime, animation, song covers, and gaming. Acting content. Content where one is acting as a character for an individual piece or series. Usually it's limited to the content for one channel and one series, and the actor isn't the character. Virtual content. Content someone makes virtually, like doing things in VR, role-playing in a game, or if you've gone digital and are the content in a digital space. The avatar usually isn't consistent, and it can be tied to acting content. Vtuber content. Content someone makes with an avatar on screen representing themselves, usually digital or virtual, but can be physical. What is a Vtuber? Aside from the Wikipedia and soon-to-be dictionary definition, let's break down what makes a Vtuber the entertainer we know as a content creator. First, to be a Vtuber, you need to make content of some kind. Any form of content with the goal to entertain, which isn't limited to enjoyment. People misunderstand the meaning and think it's only to bring joy or escapism when it could be used to share ideas. Ideas that can be driven to bring about change, awareness, lecture, and teach. Those ideas can be political, informative, philosophical, or campaigning. As long as you're making something to be shared with others through a video format, you're entertaining, but not necessarily entertaining. You are trying to entertain in some way, even if you may not be the best at grabbing attention or holding it. It won't come instantly. It will take years before you figure it out, or decide it's not for you. Second, a persona to broadcast you and your content. You don't have to have a big booming or cute small voice, a witty sense of humor, or a loud attitude to have a persona. Although, you're absolutely allowed to do that if you wish to build your brand on it. At a base level, you can be you. You are a persona. The jokes you make, no matter how much your friends groan at them, are things others will enjoy. A slightly enhanced version of you is usually a better way to present yourself. You can take on a character as mentioned, or you can use other methods to present your content through a persona. You will be presenting yourself in some manner usually. Third, you need a graphic of some kind to be a representation of the persona and content you're creating, and it has to be on screen. That graphic becomes your brand and how people will recognize you, and it needs to be in at least 50% of your content. This graphic needs to be your brand with a level of consistency until there's a new version, new outfit, or rebrand. There's a significant weight behind a rebrand for a VTuber. The old version is still a part of them. It's no longer the face and/or personality they'll be using going forward. This is unique to VTubers as they can change to anything they want to be. Unless a YouTuber is always in costume or getup of some kind, hidden in the dark, faceless, behind a mask, or under a helmet, most can't change much about themselves to change their branding aside from the content they create or the way they present themselves. A VTuber's branding can change when they remake or adjust their entire character. Fourth, the content must be shown on a video-focused platform. VTubers were born on a video platform site, and their content exists as such, including at live performances, convention appearances, and special events like being an ambassador or appearing on a broadcast as a guest. Most VTubers use the platform as a performing art, but it's not limited to such. Some people will use a graphic without an additional persona aside from themselves to create content for entertainment. They can post images of themselves on other sites as supplemental content to their main content. So, who is a VTuber? The digital or virtual personality with a consistent avatar and its presence on screen is what makes one a VTuber brand. The Japanese idol or liver style VTuber are not the only ones. VTuber branding and VTuber content extends beyond being an idol, streamer, or gamer. VTuber content isn't limited to VTubers, and it has been happening for years with the advancements in technology. We can easily say that the talents in HoloLive, Nijisanji, Base Connect, Idol Corp, and VShojo are VTubers. That a live 2D or 3D anime character with the goal to create content who presents themselves with a graphic of some kind makes them a VTuber. It is not, however, limited to anime-style characters. Nowhere in the definition or concept does it say that a VTuber is anime-related, and it doesn't need to stay that way. Like a wide range of subgenres in music, we're already dividing the types of VTubers. Anime is currently the most popular. ToonTuber, DisneyTubers, and some VTubers I don't know what to define them as, aside from a VTuber of their own style, have been increasing and will soon become more notable. How soon until we have a VTuber who is 1500s European battle style talking about conquering lands? The reason we've seen a higher quantity of anime VTubers comes from the people who were cosplayers or used to talk about anime in some form before becoming a VTuber. Even more so if they've acted for one. The other reason is how passionate we are about the shows we watch. They seem to have a lasting impression more than TV or cartoons, and most VTubers cater to that. What isn't a VTuber? There's 4 things we have to say aren't, because if they are, then everyone is. First, being online does not make you a VTuber. Anyone who puts themselves online in any fashion becomes a computerized graphic of themselves. Every video, every photo, every piece of art is digital when uploaded. Every content creator who uploads would be a VTuber. Second, anyone with an avatar on their profile and a place to write is not a VTuber. If you have a profile picture on Discord, Twitter, Tumblr, or even a blog site, we would have to say that's not a VTuber. If it was the case, then everyone is a VTuber. It's possible to say everyone online is a VTuber since technically they're an online entertainer by interacting with each other and use an avatar generated with computer graphics. For the purpose of a unified understanding of the term, we cannot use that. A VTweeter doesn't exist in the realm of content creation. They can have a PNG or rigged model and art done to say that they're a VTuber, which is no different than having a mascot or avatar representing yourself, which can also be sold as merch, much like blog brands. So it does not make them a VTuber. The difference is, instead of doing it on a website made to be a blog, you're using Twitter as your platform. They can be considered a social media influencer with enough of a following. Third, having an avatar on your profile and playing a game does not make you a VTuber. Every gamer without something on screen to represent themselves would be a VTuber. Fourth, acting and/or roleplay that's a scripted or improvised series or segment. Unless they own the personal rights to everything and it's who they base their entire personality and branding on, they can't be considered a VTuber. Whether it's independent or through a company, the rights of the brand last exclusively as that brand, most without a crossover. This would make every voice actor a VTuber of any and every character they've ever done, including the characters in ads. You can be a YouTuber, streamer, and actor this way, but not a VTuber. Improvised roleplays like the ones in chat hubs or RPGs would not make the character someone is playing their VTuber, unless it's the specific brand of their channel with the personality, while the character extends far beyond just the content existing in that world. Any world that's an extension of that world, or cameos or crossovers from the same creator. Taking an actor and making them play as a clone trooper, then taking them out of the world to toss them in a Marvel movie would not make the character or actor a VTuber. Another example would be SpongeBob at the Super Bowl. Using mocap and replacing the actor with 3D will not make them a VTuber. ASMR roleplay would sit in this category. If it's a situation voice and the image doesn't represent the user and brand, then it's simply roleplay. Now let's apply those concepts to everything that exists around VTubers and the content they've created so far. Tokino Sora from Hololive has done a scripted or improvised series to tell a story in Watanuki-san Chino, which had 2 seasons. Sora, as well as many of the other early starters like Tsuki no Mito, Deno Shoujo Shiro, Nekomiya Hinata, Mirai Akari, and Takana Hime starred in Virtual-san wa Miteiru, another scripted series. Hololive has Holograffiti. Brave Group has Game Club Project, both a scripted series within their respective companies to extend the personalities and content of the VTubers in them. It takes elements of their lore, things that happened live on a stream, their overall personality traits, and references in jokes within the company to extend their content. They use their avatars, the core of their branding as a content creator, and all of them were credited as the brand of their character they play and not their real selves, which are separate and hidden from the brand. I believe this is one of the key things that separates a VTuber from any other content creator in the past when keeping in mind the original method VTubers were born. Most people follow the formula where a person behind the model is the character they are playing. They are that role, they are that person, and they are uncredited for it. Since the first person who defined herself as a VTuber, Kizuna Ai, they are that person much like an actor with a stage name or a YouTuber with a username. This norm may change over time, and there may be some VTubers out there with their real name attached and well known. But currently, with the worries about online security, protection of personal information, and most VTubers having the introverted lifestyle, they would rather nobody know who they are. Additionally, by keeping them separate, they can work under 2 different names and accept larger or different deals when working with companies or organizations. As 2 brands, Monarch can make different deals and schedule appearances as both brands for up to double the cost. Some people will visit for Amelie, others for Monarch, and many for both. To be in any future collaborations or events under their VTuber brand, they would need to look similar enough to connect the brand. It has to be their model, a version of their model, or it can be as simple as identifiable features like their face or eyes. There are at least 2 examples of this with the same VTuber. Inugami Korone has an alternate model as the Sonic brand ambassador. It's a different version of her, like an actor with different clothing or makeup. It's still part of their performance as an actor under the Vtuber brand. Korone also had a cameo in Yokai Watch, where the character looks similar enough to connect her brand, that could count as part of her VTuber content. This is why the anime How Not to Summon a Demon Lord almost got in trouble for making a character look too similar to Pecora when it aired. They had to remove it from the disc version of the show because while it may have been a fun Easter egg and the animator a fan, that affects merch sales of the show and Hololive could sue. Hololive and Niji Sanji have many crossover and collaboration events in games, at cafes, and in tournaments that have directly showcased their branding, allowing the brand to be part of the VTuber content. VShojo has had collaborations with Smite as well. Indie VTubers also have this with games, like Meet Your Oshi. Acting without the visual connection to the brand is only acting content connected to the VTuber as an actor. The branding will be the image on screen and not connected to the VTuber aside from voice. An example where it would be credited as acting relates to Megaton Musashi. Korone, Subaru, Pecora, and Marin voiced characters with no connection other than their voice being credited as the actor. It's not VTuber content, it's related to their overall careers as an individual actor. Laplace voicing Silver Cat Chelsea in Valkyrie Connect would be a better example of acting content as a VTuber without it directly relating to their VTuber activities. The separation of the actor from the Vtuber brand is a role that can be reprised. A VTuber may one day go back to their role. So far, it's only been shelved and the actor has never returned after a graduation or termination. This leads to the brand dying and any connection to what they have done as that brand dies with it, at least in the cases that it relates to corporations. Most of the time, they cannot associate with it or acknowledge it exists unless they were adopted in with a separate model alongside some NDA guidelines from the contracts. Companies can resell brand merch of characters or actors so long as the contract permits, long after they've retired or passed away. Those characters can come back and be inherited by someone else, continuing the brand with a different actor. There have been a few occasions where a VTuber brand was inherited by a different actor. While the sentiment might not be there from the fans, the VTuber brand continues. This is why Neurosama or any other AI-based VTuber can be a VTuber despite not having an actor behind the camera. If she's ever handed off, her brand can continue so long as she exists as a content creator with the AI resembling a consciousness. Much like Vidal, she has established herself as her own brand, and if she's archived or deleted, she dies. She has the potential to remain a VTuber forever, especially with the type of content she offers. The goal for an AI VTuber is to create content and market themselves. Hatsune Miku is not a VTuber until the company releases her rights or makes her a VTuber. In the scope of trying to make her a VTuber, the Vocaloid program is a tool that allows others, individual creators or individuals at the company, to speak and act as her, making them the VTuber. The one time she was on Letterman was a scripted segment designed to promote Japanese culture and present herself as a virtual idol, not a virtual YouTuber. A virtual idol, a subgenre of the virtual band, is similar to a band posting their music and having a few extra pieces behind the scenes or sharing tour experiences, making them content creators but not YouTubers. The AI home assistant Miku was limited to those owners and a virtual companion, not a virtual content creator. The virtual companion is something that can be an extension of the AI VTubers or a VTuber that submits their voice to an audio bank. An example where a brand with an actor became a VTuber was Tony the Tiger and Ruby Rose. They may not have released the rights, but the company has converted them into a VTuber, as short-lived as they were. A series like Always Break Time is based on a VTuber using AI voices from that VTuber and uses improvised, randomly generated text with ChatGPT. Until the individual characters in the show become like Neurosama and have a direct role in creating content to reflect a personality, they will remain as actors in a non-scripted piece of entertainment. This applies to the SpongeBob AI show and anything else that comes after it. Rooster Teeth owns the rights to Red vs. Blue, and some of the characters resemble their actor's personality with the intensity dialed up to 10. As a parody, this makes the series their intellectual property, and they're able to sell merch with Halo copywritten designs on it. But it's all scripted to be a consistent roleplay. Annoying Orange had a series on YouTube and on TV where they owned all the rights to the characters and brand. This cannot be considered a VTuber since it was a scripted series and the branding being based around the character like a cartoon. One could argue that it's similar to Hollow Graffiti and Brave Group's Game Club project, except the characters of Annoying Orange were only made for the show, and not an extension or method of marketing the individual creators and their content as those characters. The actors were credited for their performance and not as the characters they played. It would be much different if the credits said Annoying Orange as Annoying Orange, or himself. Those are the basic guidelines of what I theorize is and isn't a VTuber. There are areas now where things get a bit foggy, and we're going to struggle with defining one. Let's go over some questions you may have. Questions. How long does someone have to be a computer-generated graphic to be considered a VTuber? Does it correlate to the time spent on the platform? To brand yourself a VTuber, it should be over 50% of your main content on the channels you stream or record from, even if most of it isn't archived like a Twitch stream. If they change their content from their previous form of work to a new form of work, or even continue their standard format of content, they can be a VTuber. It doesn't matter how long they've been making the content or the following they've procured along the way. Their audience will decide if they choose to continue supporting them, and it's a gamble the creator has to take themselves. Social media websites are a different and additional piece of content to expand your reach, gain a following, and interact with others in a shorter form that wouldn't be considered main content. A method to continue part of the Vtuber branding while physical would be cosplaying between sets for segments you wouldn't be able to do from a computer, wear a face mask while interacting in real life to continue some of the illusion if you hide your face, using or wearing merch as a stand-in for yourself while you narrate, and or imposing your avatar over your physical body or the surroundings to substitute your presence. They aren't cosplaying a VTuber, they are playing the character of the Vtuber brand they own, being who they are in a physical form. This is Vtuber content and would count if they streamed or recorded this way. New technology is showing up like Mokopi, giving people new ways to be a VTuber beyond the single room and screen they sit at. While at a convention, I saw a few forms beyond what I'd considered. VTubers were on a phone on someone's chest as they were transported around. Someone was wearing a full rig with a phone tracking their face and a TV screen to project themselves as a VTuber. A company created roaming vehicles with a tablet, speaker, and mic so they can interact with fans. If we follow that example, we can start to narrow down the finer details of who isn't one. MatPat uses an image of himself to substitute, exaggerate, and emphasize his speech. By definition of everything I've given, he is technically a VTuber. He creates video essays on gaming content like other YouTube content. It could be considered VTuber content. Russian Badger makes gaming content and uses a variety of avatars for the personas he puts on screen. For the majority of the video, he uses that model and only places his real self at the end of the video. Russian Badger could be considered a VTuber, except he's missing one thing. He doesn't have a singular model to market himself as a brand. His YouTube brand, The Crying Seal, gets plastered on the side of collaborations for things like War Thunder, while his GamerSubs brand is Splinter Cell respirating a fish with a garden hose. He uses a virtual avatar for more than 50% of his content. Branding from the designed character is what makes someone a VTuber. Logos and avatars on profiles make people YouTubers and what gets used to identify them for brand deals. There are some people who have a VTuber model. I wouldn't consider Pokimane or PewDiePie a VTuber with how short-lived they were in those models, even if they were bullied out of them. We don't have to consider them a VTuber in the subgenre of content creator. We can, however, call the content they created VTuber content. These two have a brand already and it's themselves. This happened with Lily Pichu, who debuted a VTuber model only to use it when she didn't want to be on camera. She specifically stated that she didn't want to be considered a VTuber, either legitimately, since she wishes to separate it, or she was worried about backlash from the community.
Would you consider starting a new VTubing account? Again, I don't consider myself a VTuber, guys. Like, I really don't. In its most simplest terms, I'm still me. Except I have an anime avatar just to replace me when I don't want to use webcam. It's just, I don't like, I feel like if I call myself a VTuber, I think people will complain or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I just wanted to try an anime avatar. So I don't, just keep that in mind, okay? It's just me. I'm just trying to have fun. That's it.
If any of them wish to swap over, there's nothing wrong with it, and a new brand can be made.
Now I will be part-time VTubing.
Lily Pichu hasn't used it much though, so it would be fair to say she's in the same boat. Which leads to why Soviet Womble isn't one. He has an avatar to represent him, and it does show up on screen a few times. But for the most part, anything he does is the in-game character we see on screen. He's commentating, not VTubing. Should a VTuber's face be hidden? I don't think it has to be hidden. The creator should have the freedom to choose. There is a significantly greater quantity of content possibilities when the creator has the freedom to show their face. Hiding the face protects the creator and gives them a little more freedom whenever they travel or go outside. And a reveal can always come later, so if you're unsure about the future of your content and the direction you want to take it, I suggest starting with it hidden. You can retain the title VTuber if most of your content is VTuber related. Limiting yourself to your real hands, feet, arms, and torso is a style of content you can do that continues the illusion while having your VTuber model on screen. Viewers get both sides, and the creator can be a little more expressive. Kizuna Ai and the people she worked with were the ones who popularized keeping the identity of the person behind the scenes a secret like an idol. This set somewhat of a standard for the corporate industry for protection and non-compete reasons. There is an outlier like VShojo that doesn't care and leaves it up to the streamer. Do they have to be a VTuber from day one? A lot of people know VTubers as creators who started day one as a VTuber and gained their following after. While this is true for most corporate VTubers, a lot of indies have transitioned over. Nothing says you have to stick to a single piece of content and be in a lane from day one. Many YouTubers have changed their content to keep up with demand, or as an attempt to grow a channel. How you want to measure an accomplishment for bragging rights is up to the people watching and the content creator. Usually, staying humble is what I recommend. The following they've had before swapping content is just as valid though if they wish to start their VTuber career. Nyanners, Amalie, Takahata, and Cookie Swirl C have all swapped over and taken their audience with them. Remember that a lot of the HoloLive VTubers now have a quality brand backing them in name alone that gives them a large following before they debut. A lot of that is handed to them under the name of the corporation and for a good reason. They set a bar and hire the best talent they can find. They have the most money and have the most freedom to experiment and sign on whoever they want with a high shopping list when it comes to talent from the individual person. For all corporations that have the name brand backing them, holding that audience and earning their trust is on the talent to keep. A single word or decision can cause a fan base to feel betrayed, angered, or abandon the person they've been following for so long. Indie creators who have swapped from one form of content to VTubers have worked since day one to gain their following. Sometimes it lines up with the current form they offer, other times not so much. In the same way as the corporate acquisitions, they have earned that audience. What about any content they created previously? Does that count as VTuber content? Previous content before they swapped over does not count as part of their VTuber content. The change from a regular type of creator to a VTuber doesn't count toward the overall content they've made as a VTuber. Cookie Swirl C is the largest VTuber I can find. She was someone who had gained an audience before they became a VTuber. They had a color scheme and theme to their channel. The model was added after. Their content hasn't changed. It's not anime related, it's not what most know as VTuber style content, and it's family-friendly content for kids and young teens. Even though nothing has changed, only the new content counts going forward. What about someone who wasn't a VTuber, but is one now and made content close to VTubers? First, as I said, anime content nor gaming content without an avatar isn't the only style of content VTubers can do. There is no specific style of content VTubers have to make, and going forward, the dominant medium may change. Amalie, also known as Monarch, and Nyanners are a great example of what people would consider VTuber content. Amalie has been making anime covers since 2010, then became a VTuber 11 years later, almost to the day of her first cover. She's a musical artist and her page continues to be one while also being a VTuber. Not much has changed on her channel aside from a few additional pieces of content and the covers being VTuber related, by having her VTuber brand in it instead of her old persona. Nyanners did voiceover work and song covers. Her channel content has changed a decent bit since debuting as a VTuber. In the past, Nyanners had an avatar representing herself, fan art made of it, and it was her brand. Does that count as VTuber works? I wouldn't say so because the branding of a VTuber didn't exist at the time, and many use an avatar now as a way to brand the channel without being VTubers. What about Shurelily? They were credited as their YouTuber brands, meaning in 2011, they were some of the closest to being VTubers without being officially VTubers. I don't have the record of that content. Only 2 people have been documented to hold the archives, and the most I can go on is what they showcased at Opkai Expo's first year. They created gaming content, anime-style content that was scripted with their friends, and merch based on those characters. The gaming content they created is what made it more than just a roleplay or an improv show, and more than just an internet personality using an avatar. In all cases, they were short of calling themselves a VTuber, and in Shurelily's case, one is a VTuber today, and the other chooses not to be one. Where is the line then? When can one say it's time to call them a VTuber if the area before 2016 is so gray? When trying to decide what is and isn't a subspecies on the evolutionary timeline, there's a point where we say, this much is different from the others. A place where we pin something as the start of something new, a much larger change that doesn't make it the same as before. The base of what it once was in the past, an ape for example, and what it is now remains the same. Somewhere before that on the timeline, the shape or form changed and became what we are now, Homo sapiens, with many differences in between, much like with content and genres. I would pin the era of VTubers, and the first ever VTuber, at Kizuna Ai's second stream, for coining the widely used term while it was still in its early stages. The Wikipedia article mentions Supersonico as the first, which I researched and presented at a panel during a convention. And after thinking it over, I believe we can consider the time before the term as the Ailen era. The term comes from Kizuna Ai, the first person who gave the name, and Ailen, one of the first documented VTubers after Sonico and Ami Yamato. It's the uncertain area of content in the past where what was being made was close enough to be VTuber-style content and could be considered such, like with Shurelily. With this term, we have a starting point for actual VTubers and the prehistoric parts of VTuber media, because as we're about to discuss, the beginning may one day be much further than we expected. Many attribute Airen as one of the world's first VTubers, with the debut date of March 3rd, 2014, even though it's not entirely accurate. Anyone who had FaceRig, which released in 2013, and tried to create a YouTube channel with it would instead be considered one of the first VTubers. We can't find those channels buried under the hundreds of thousands of terabytes worth of content YouTube has. It's possible someone used something like Talking Tom to project themselves when making content and still are, making them a VTuber possibly just after Supersonico. Someone may have created content using a program before January 2010 that simulated someone's face and spoke on their behalf using a series of images that transitions between mouth movements to imitate speech based on the waveforms. We won't know until the collective knowledge of the viewers watching remembers and can find that evidence. If you think someone isn't a VTuber for making one piece of content before quitting, there are a few people who have only had 3 streams before leaving a company or entering an indefinite hiatus without an announcement. It doesn't matter how long they were a VTuber if the majority of their content is VTuber based. We've seen this happen an unfortunate amount of times from an individual who constantly keeps making VTuber models to scam people out of money. It is possible someone has the guise of VTuber content, creating more than 50% of content as a VTuber, while their channel thrives with IRL content being the reason they are found and watched. Their VTuber content is merely in name and brand, without it being the focus. It would still be valid to consider the creator a VTuber. We should not limit our perception of what is or isn't a VTuber based on the success of their brand. A VTuber will go beyond their model and start creating real-life content without the model at all. They may retire or half-retire the model. They may have 400 videos of VTuber content before they graduate and start doing physical content while sometimes doing digital content. We can consider them VTuber veterans, or VVs, people who can still hold the VTuber title even if they're creating a new style of content. I won't limit how long or short a VTuber they have to be if they want the role, since the community will decide that for everyone. I would assume anyone who tries to make one piece of VTuber content and start a channel as a VTuber specifically only to abandon it right after and make only physical content won't be accepted by the community for carrying the name. While it may eventually happen since some people have strange goals, most people are of goodwill and won't attempt to claim the title like an achievement. The deciding factors of a VTuber is the base of who can be considered one. The deeper levels of character design, character traits, how to create content, and their future will be the rest of the foundation to set the stage for the next big piece of content. Character design. Branding for VTubers mostly lies in the character design. There's no single style, method, or type that makes it a VTuber model, and you don't need live 2D rigging for it. As long as it's a computerized graphic persona you'd like to be represented by, you can be anything. Some of these people enjoy a trope and want to embody it, becoming a character they love or identify with and share it with others. Since there's a separation between fantasy and reality, they can't fully act like the character in person on an average day. Usually that's reserved to conventions or special events. In a lot of cases they're like this already. The additional exaggeration that comes from acting is a form of play, and why actors love it so much, and they apply this when they perform as the VTuber. Their designs attempt to capture the magic of a character we've seen elsewhere. They can be historic, entertaining, nostalgic, or a meme someone now has a chance to use for content. They can hire character or concept designers to make them a persona they intend to use. What that character turns into after is up to the user. If it's going to be used with VTube Studio, they need to find someone who could figure out how to separate the layers of a character when designing them, as if they're sculpting a statue with clay. If it's going to be 3D, they need to find someone who can create a model from a character sheet. It can become pixel or some other form with tools that have yet to be developed. There's different styles of VTubers that can come from a single concept art. Anime style is the current and most common choice of VTubers. Cartoon style, known as Toontubers, are a slightly rarer style of VTuber. Some of them transition between sprites they've created, and others use a rigged model. There are a few creators out there who have gone with the classic Disney aesthetic. There is a mountain of potential to be a family-friendly style creator. One day, someone at Disney will take notice of the VTuber trend and hire someone to be an ambassador for the company and hold a role for years playing said character, becoming a new icon and face for Disney, as well as a new marketing brand for them to maximize merch with. Furry style. These characters are anthropomorphic or cartoon animal creatures. You've probably seen them before, as cartoons love to humanize everything. Animal style. Animals and pets. They're cute. They're cuddly, they're wonderful, or maybe they'll bite off your hand. Brand VTubers. There are corporate and brand style VTubers that exist. These mascots try to appeal to their audience the same way you see an advertisement on the side of a car. Sometimes a fan-made model is made for fun. In a way, these are sponsored talents who promote the company while also receiving a platform and audience to perform in front of, as well as funding to pursue their creative ideas. These give individual talents a lot of chances to express themselves and have some funding without being part of a larger corporation. The most successful ones are not simply to promote the brand, but act as a VTuber while being an ambassador. Crunchyroll has Hime, and earlier mentions of Tony the Tiger and Ruby Rose. Some have a horror theme. Nothing is as concrete as an actual monster designed to scare viewers, or be horror content designed to create lore and a series for thrills. A few others I'm waiting to see is somebody with a Victorian style or constructs. These are the most common or upcoming trends that we'll see. I'm going to stop it here because so long as there is an art style that exists, someone will make a VTuber of it. A final caveat is that you don't need one specific type of model to be a VTuber. I said earlier that branding lies mostly in character design, but you can be a VTuber without a single design. That design builds a brand and can change over time, as long as they know it's you and the brand you're pushing. You can use many, you can be many. You don't have to be just one. That one, however, should be a base. Subsets of VTubers. If there's a type of content that exists, there's probably a VTuber who makes that style of content. If you are unsure of the type of VTuber you want to be, hopefully this list will narrow down your goals. A lot of people say they want to be an idol instead of a singer. The first three types of VTubers are the most common and popular VTubers for content creation. Gamers. Gamers who commentate on what's happening, create challenges or metagames to keep it interesting, and sometimes participate in tournaments after a hefty grind to refine their skills in the game they play. Chatting. Simply put, they talk to you and have a great time learning from your experiences and sharing theirs. Idols. Idols are what the industry has been known for since Kizuna Ai. These VTubers are not only singers, but stage performers learning dance routines, and on occasion, acting skills to expand their reach beyond one medium. This caused other companies to start looking into keeping up with the trend and compete. One person wanted to make a virtual AKB48, and because of that, Hololive now has 3 of the largest and most popular corporate Vtubers in 3 countries. As a single company, they hold 48 of the top subscribed Vtuber-related channels out there. Niji Sanji, who has some idols but isn't the focus, has 25 of the top 100. The Superstar. This style of Vtuber is one of the hardest to keep up with. Understand that the bar is set. These people love to create content and want to make as much as they can before they're done to leave a big mark on people's lives. You don't have to have the same standard as Hoshimachi Suisei, Mori Calliope, Takanashi Kiara, or Hosho Marine, but use it as inspiration. Use that as a reference to strive for, a goal to reach. Your public image matters, your opinions have weight, and sharing them should be done carefully. Remain impartial, stick to your content, and talk about it only. If you talk about any other content, it must be positive. If you want to be an idol, you need to dance and sing like one of the top musical artists out there. If you want to be a singer or create music, you need to work on it almost daily. You need to frequently make music. You need to be working constantly on your next piece, going to practice weekly, working with a team of people who can set you up for success and make sure the performance runs smoothly. I'm telling you this so you feel inspired if you want to be on this level. Know the effort you have to put in if you want this. I would love to see the journey someone takes to reach this goal. V-singers. Vtubers who specifically only create music and will make appearances as their model. It can be covers, original songs, or a mixture of both. They don't have the dance lessons an idol requires when they perform. Their goal is only to sing. V-streamers. You can be a streaming-focused VTuber on a platform like Twitch and be called a V-streamer. You're still a VTuber. This makes it easier to identify what you are, since some people are Twitch streamers instead of YouTubers. Both are content creators. ASM artists. They offer a style of content to cater to those in need or who enjoy a type of audio. There are ASM artists who make various style of content and have a still image to represent the character they're playing that isn't consistent with each piece they create. This does not make them a VTuber, nor does it count as part of their VTuber content. This is voice acting. If it was their character model, or a still piece of art drawn of their character model to fit the ASMR type they are projecting, that would be much more acceptable as VTuber content. An example would be Amelie's content over Monarch's content. Without the model art as part of the works, it's simply a cover from a musical artist or singer, unless it's an original and it's trying to tell a story. That art being used to replace who is on screen makes it more personal to them, the brand, and the person singing it. It relates to the brand more when they have a direct relationship with the company they create music with. As an example, Hololive with Deco27 and Honeyworks. A deeper meaning beyond simply creating a cover, this is a share of their passion and what they believe in, by inserting themselves as part of it. YouTubers. These are the people who make a regular form of content that can be watched the day it comes out, or 10 years later. Usually more than just stream highlights, but it can be. This type of content will outlast any stream. V-creator. A V-creator doesn't exist from the definition someone tried to pitch to me. You're still a VTuber. Many people want to disassociate themselves from the VTuber sphere by relabeling themselves. You can't outrun a problem by rebelling or dividing the thought behind the community. Trying to disassociate yourself will lead others to do the same thing who are going to sink the new boat you tried to create. The people who don't see or don't know they are the problem will try to follow the herd or be completely oblivious to their own thought patterns and actions, leading them to do the exact same thing they're trying to avoid or escape from. You are either a VTuber or a YouTuber who makes virtual content, like how Russian Badger creates virtual content without the avatar. People think of him as the Seal, but I still see him as a Stormtrooper and a Spartan. The limits of their content. A VTuber's content is only limited by their ability to push tech and think outside the box. For the positive outlook on their future, tech is improving. Each year, we see improvements in trackers and motion tracking software, better controllers, smoother animation, and a price point that's decreasing to an accessible level for the average user. This applies to both 3D and 2D models. Tracking software and programs are able to detect finer movements with lower quality cameras, or there's an assistant program able to fill in the finer pieces of movement. For hardware, the best cameras currently for tracking face, eyes, and expression for VTubers are iPhones. Many have gone out to buy an iPhone specifically for tracking their VTuber model, and one day a company will show up as a competitor and offer a better camera that hooks up like a webcam for the price of one, unless motion tracking makes camera quality closer to obsolete. We already have programs that will track you and your body for free and put it on 2D or 3D avatars without high-tech equipment. You don't need VR and trackers to be 3D. You don't need live 2D and a model to move. You only need to search in the right place. With tech becoming compact and portable, AR tracking, real-time superimposing, and tracking with or without a camera facing the subject will allow them to participate in more real-life and live content. They've made it to the news in the UK and TV in Japan. It's only a matter of time before we see them on a regular TV show here in America as corporations try to expand. It's not all great with the advancements in tech though. We're reaching an age where your voice won't be yours anymore. Anyone can record your voice and throw it into an AI program, and anyone can use that in real time. Before 2021, people would either legitimately assume or attack a VTuber claiming they were using a voice changer with a 40-year-old male behind the voice. For a brief 7 years, that wasn't a possibility.
Hello there everyone, it is me, CWVA. Do you know what I love to do? I love streaming. That's right, I'm actually a bit of a gamer.
Maybe your voice isn't compatible, but
Sometimes you'll find a voice model that works super well and it sounds almost
it's identical.
But be safe and don't do illegal things and don't try to imitate people and pretend that you are someone.
I believe if someone is entertaining enough, what they make should matter more than who they are behind the camera, physically. Although, people don't like to be deceived, and I understand why they would be upset by this if it is not disclosed to them. We've already hit a level of hybrid VTubers that do mixed content. Nanabun no Niju ni, or Nananiji, was originally an idol company with 11 talents pushing the boundaries, using 3D models and mocap to have virtual and physical idols before Sally Amaki, known as Fujima Sakura, became the first VTuber in the company, creating content on Sakura's newly made channel using the persona and the assets the company gave her. 8 others followed, leaving 3 who were part of the brand of the company and not independent creators. Those 3 are unable to be called VTubers, and at best would be considered idols and virtual idols. Keisan and Misumi are creators who meet a lot of the requirements to be a VTuber in a brand, while also being themselves and creating content like a regular YouTuber and an actress. They play themselves, they are the brand, and were able to successfully pull off what PewDiePie and Pokimane tried to do. They were a brand and went from physical to VTuber, and now mix. They've been hitting beyond the 50-50 style, and have performed professionally for commercial products. Keisan looks just like her model. In a way, at all times, we have a VTuber in cosplay in real life. Like I said though, it's not cosplay if it's themselves doing the cosplay. Her brand was herself and she can continue to run as such. There are a few others on their way to doing the same thing, and it might become its own category. I hope this helped open someone's mind to the possibilities of what a VTuber is and what they could be. I hope this inspires people to think and create content beyond their perceptions of what a VTuber is and the content they create. I hope someone takes some parts of this and refine these ideas to answer the question. At the least, I hope this disproves once and for all that Annoying Orange was never a VTuber. But hey, that's just a theory. A VTuber theory!